Kitty. Call the work session to order. Understand our first item is in close.
All right. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Orange County desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matters: discussion of consideration of interviews of prospective candidates for employment with respect to a technical position, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made that the business or industry is interested in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. And whereas pursuant to sections 2.2, 3711A1 and A5 of the Code of Virginia, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Orange County is hereby authorized discussion of four state matters in closed meeting. Need that as a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we're in close.
All right.
I think we're
And we won't be too long.
Members of the board, to the best of your knowledge, were the only matters discussed in the closed meeting, public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements, and that only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. Mr. Frame?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Crozier?
Aye.
Mr. Goodwin?
Aye.
And Mr. White?
Aye. Okay. We're gonna do a motion.
Yes, sir.
Now?
I thought Mr. Gear might follow us down here. I would, motion would be recommend that the board authorized Mr. White as chair to sign the performance agreement with PNC Group for the conveyance of Lot 14 at the Thomas Lee Industrial Park and associated performance agreements. And I'll make sure we get the right entity identified in that motion.
All right. Is that a motion?
So.
All right, and second?
Yes.
All right, moving second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Okay, next work session item, CIP. Stephanie.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Before you, you'll find the draft FY 2020 to 2029 capital improvements plan. This includes requests over the next 10-year period from all of the county departments in the school system, and it also includes our debt payments. The items that I'd like to draw your attention to at this time are year one, which is the 2020. And I'm here to answer any questions and provide any feedback that you may have of the plan.
You sent me a supplemental email that had an interesting, I don't know, is it, do we have copies of that in front of us, or do we? Well, that's okay.
I have some,
Yeah, the,
I'm not quite sure, I know.
our, Stephanie noted that, I think as a result of now several years of work on the CIP and trying to identify the big categories of debt and debt servicing, which is an ongoing situation, and all of the replacement cycle items, whether it's sheriff's vehicles or body cameras or computers or tough books or, whatever. And then the grant items. By the time you take those big categories together, they represent the overwhelming fraction. I didn't calculate the percentage, but it looks like it's 85 or
Yes, sir.
or so percent of the CIP for 2020, and likely, frankly, for years thereafter, is sort of baked in our prior year discussions as well as our policies with respect to CIP. Doesn't make it, any less money or any easier to deal with. It's just that I think it demonstrates pretty clearly that the commitments we have in terms of replacing ongoing capital items are going to, that and the debt for the foreseeable future, actually, are gonna take up the bulk of our CIP.
Yes, sir, and I can walk us through that real quick for,
Yeah,
for Amber's benefit.
Okay, sure.
So the general fund transfer amount proposed in this initial draft plan for FY 2020 is a little over 11.5 million. And as you mentioned, the first year requests that are not part of a replacement cycle, just new items that have been requested, total about $130,000. First year requests for replacement cycles that we didn't know we needed a replacement cycle for until this year total about 120. Our debt payments are a little over 8 million. The school project allotment for specific projects is the 567,000. A little over 1.3 million is for school-related project-specific debt. A little over 300,000 is for projects where we put a little bit of money in a year, specifically the closure reserve cells for 1 through 5B and the fire apparatus reserve fund. And then the balance, which is a little over 900,000, are those true replacement cycles, which you have been consistently funding year over year since FY14. Those are things that include tough books, computer replacements, Pyxis machines, breathing apparatus, server replacements, container replacements, things of that nature that we know have a 3, 5, or 7 year life cycle, and these are just the year that those are due.
And I guess it's not to say that all those replacement items shouldn't be revisited, because there could be a change, either a change in life or we move to a different, so it's not necessarily a forever kind of thing, but it does give you an interesting perspective on the CIP. You think of a $11.5 million CIP and you look at it and in fact, I would argue that only about 130 of that is really new things for 2020. The rest of it is a pure business as usual, as we defined it, set of things. Still a lot of money, but it's and I guess we did quiz and have some feedback on some of those replacement items, especially the larger ones. I know.
Yes, sir. Especially
I trust that you
vehicles.
had some very interesting conversations about that.
Yes, sir. I have challenged staff to revise those and update those, and that's one of the benefits that I appreciate being able to do this every year. So this time next year, if we decide that vehicle can last 9 years instead of 7, we can make those adjustments, and then all the future cycles can be adjusted on a yearly basis. That's why we look at this every year. So specifically, IT equipment and vehicles. Vehicles have a little more leeway. IT equipment we tend to like to replace as the warranty expires, but vehicles and some of the other equipment items have a life cycle that may be flexible, and we look at those annually.
And the ability to transfer vehicles from one use to another use that's not as demanding.
Yes, sir. Or when it was originally put in, it had different uses, and now it isn't used as much, so we can get more mileage out of it. Yes, sir.
Well, and another item is the closure reserves for the cells in the landfill. And Kurt's here, so I'm gonna make him a little bit nervous. Yeah, I know. You know, we had a plan as to when those new cells would need to be open, and, you know, that plan needs to be tested on a regular basis to make sure it's still accurate, because it could go either way, theoretically. So there's still work to do, but I think it's, hopefully we've identified most of these items, and we're meeting our policy objectives with this plan, especially given all the other things that aren't here that we're doing in terms of public safety, communication system and buildings and the like, broadband. I will say that we do anticipate early in the calendar year creating a CIP for broadband. As I recall, we didn't put anything in here specifically, did we?
No, sir.
And so there will be another CIP discussion with respect to broadband coming, as soon as we get a,
More clearly define those projects,
Right.
yes, sir.
So, and the beginning, building elements are those are the laterals that have been approved as part of the backbone project. So I think will be coming something for the broadband authority to start working on.
Just one comment, and this is more for Amber or anybody else that may watch this. Could you just explain the Stop the Bleed real quick?
Yes, sir,
I know we're
absolutely.
aware of it, but
Absolutely. That is a first-year request from the Department of Fire and EMS, and this is a project that they've worked on in conjunction with the Orange County Public School System. And it is a program that utilizes essentially triage equipment as well as trainers to work with school personnel in the event of an active shooter incident. And it provides training and tourniquets and equipment of that nature for those folks until first responders can be on scene. And it has received positive feedback from the school system.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure that when people saw that, they had an understanding of,
well, I
was
think
it the
another one.
financial bleed or?
Yeah. You might make a comment about the electronic poll books that the registrar has,
Yes.
because that's a major shift.
It is, yes. So we had a large project for the registrar, I believe in 2022 and 2023. We divided it over 2 years. That was going to basically replace the majority of their equipment. She made the request to strip out the poll books and make those a separate project this year due to security concerns and reliability concerns of the current equipment, which was purchased in 2013. So this would update them, make them more reliable. She's received feedback through the state of the equipment she intends to purchase can help reduce line time, downtime in general for the folks working the polls, and she's very eager to get this in place by the next election.
Okay. Anything else? All right. I think we should plan on following the same procedure from here on out as we did last year. We didn't actually approve a CIP until we were finishing up the budget overall. Because the CIP, well, it's a standalone deliberation the money really comes largely through the general fund and needs to be part of that
You
budget
gotta have
discussion.
a handle on your budget.
And you gotta have,
before you do this.
exactly, so, I don't have, do we have a scheduled date for approval of the CIP formally?
Well,
But it needs to be timed such that it fits with the budget cycle.
My original schedule was delayed a bit due to
Yeah,
some
the
hurdles
school.
acquiring information.
For schools. Let me make this suggestion. Why doesn't the board take this under advisement? And as it's currently drafted, understanding your budget committee will be coming, Mr. White, and Mr. Johnson, pretty quickly with us, county staff, to start on the overall budget at a point that they're comfortable, and certainly with our abilities, bring this back. I'd rather have the board approve this before approving an operating budget, but because this is a plan, it doesn't commit to fund, but we will be building our capital budget for next year. So delaying it a little bit, but not waiting until the actual operating budget, I think was in line with what we did last year. So we've got it laid out here. So we'll come back.
Okay, I'm just a little confused.
Well-
If we're going to approve the CIP before we have the regular budget done,
Yes, sir.
yet we just said we want to have the regular budget
Right.
done before we approve it.
We can approve years 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, but not
But
20.
Right.
Right.
And if you make any changes to 20, the others go,
That's the
Right,
point.
that's my only,
I think it's essentially a simultaneous.
Well,
I know you like to do it the other way, but I said what I said
Yeah.
because of that.
yeah,
It
Yep.
needs to be simultaneous.
okay. I mean, we'll work on that. I mean, we'll achieve that.
I mean, by the time we get close to the budget approval, I suspect there's not gonna be a lot of change in this.
Correct.
But if something else in the budget changes, it could reinforce, I mean, go back and adjust this because of it.
Yeah, I mean, the CIP, particularly for the coming year, is one of several big things that are going on. The operating budget, of course, but we're building a building, we're building a public safety radio system, we're building broadband, there are lots of big chunks of things moving around, and they all have to fit together. And that's the issue.
With a balanced budget.
With a balanced budget, that's right.
But I know sometimes, much to my fault, I'm process oriented, and sometimes I have to think outside my process, so,
Thank you, sir, we're good.
all right.
I just,
I'm thinking outside my process.
yep, nope, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you, Stephanie.
county website redesign.
Does Stephanie turn around and come up?
Yeah, are you, now this is, I think Allison has the lead on this one.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Our current website was procured in 2012. We went live in about the middle of 2013. And as you've probably noticed, we haven't made any substantial design changes or improvements since our original launch of the website. Staff is able to make minor content changes and additions, and we've been doing those over the years, particularly as we've added things like the Broadband Authority, GWAP, things that we really wanted to highlight on the front page of the website. We've been able to make those changes, but we've not largely had any design changes or improvements since launch. Larry and I were contacted by Civic Plus, which is the organization that did the original design of the website, and they're currently hosting our website. When staff logs in to make changes to the website, we log into their platform, and they are doing away with the version of the platform that we are using at the end of next year. So they're pushing us to update our website based on the fact that the platform is coming to end of life, and that when we procured the website, our contract included a free website redesign in the first 5 years, and we're at our 5-year mark. So we have, those two opportunities. One that's kind of, we bought, it's available to us, we probably should take advantage of it, and then one that we really need to update. With the update, we would receive the necessary training for staff. They would come in, and with whatever team we identified, they would provide the training. The new platform is going to allow for more control and freedom in making changes, particularly on the home page. It is very difficult to make changes on the home page right now, and the new platform will make that easier. Even for seasonal changes, for holiday changes, there's a number of things that we can do to the home page. And the newly designed website will have more of a graphic and visual appeal to it, a more user-friendly layout and better menu navigations, and will also receive an upgrade to our mobile responsiveness. You can look at a mobile version of our website right now on a phone or a tablet, but you won't see the graphics. You can't access all of the content that you can get on our full website. And with the redesign, it will be completely mobile responsive. So text and fonts and things will adjust to tablets and the screens of mobile devices, and it will just look and feel more like our original website.
And that's based upon the fact that they're gonna have a new hosting system and a new interface with the system.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but in terms of the appearance, that's what the other aspect of a change would be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the platform, the part that is coming to end of life, is going to make some of those enhancements on its own, and then the other part, as you mentioned, is the redesign that's in our contract. So before we dove into a project like this, Larry and I talked about coming to the board to get input. I wanted specifically to hear during the work session on changes or additions that you want to the website, areas that you think are working and meeting needs now, areas that you think need improvement, things that should go away from the website, and any suggestions that you have on just overall, however detailed you want to go in overall font, color schemes, design, layout. I wanted to hear from you on that. I do have the 3 examples that I provided in your memo live, that we can look at. These ones were newly redesigned and launched by Civic Plus. And you'll notice some similarities on their home screen. There's a lot more graphics than what we have now, and some just overall better menu navigations, more graphic buttons. It's more visually appealing. People are more likely to come back to the website, but wanted to get some of your thoughts and input on that before we moved forward.
It may be that I'm just comfortable with what we've got, but I looked at the others and I didn't get particularly enthralled with the others. I got some ideas of some content change,
Okay.
but I thought the navigation on ours works pretty well. But maybe somebody can show me something different, but I looked at those others and I did not get excited about them.
So when I say menu, where we have our menus now, we have these drop-down menus, and you have to, hover over them. If you don't hover over it just so, the menu will pop away and you're back to the starting point. The improved menu navigation on the new website will look something like this, and you can still have subcategories, but they will all show on the menu, and you don't have to go over 3 or 4 columns to reach what you're looking for. So we don't have to change the site layout. You can still locate pages and content in its current sort of outline, the way that it's structured right now, but you'll have an easier menu to navigate and get to those pages.
I haven't been able to look at any of those that you sent because the links don't work for me. So I don't have any opinion on them at all.
Well, it did make me look at ours a little more, and a couple of things. I looked in that thing under events, and the only events that we cover are the events involving county government. And I would have thought, since that's under living in Orange, that would have included a lot of the other things that go on in terms of events.
Well, that's a content issue. That's a content issue.
That's a content.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a couple of content things, but as I say,
Well,
the structure.
I think the current site is kind of dated looking, and I think, for instance, the homepage is way too busy. It's got too much stuff on it. There should be some broad categories that show, and you click on those and get into those, you can argue back and forth both ways, but I just think it's better if you've got if you can, if you're looking for a specific something, go to the page and have 5 choices, say, okay, this is the one that's gonna get me there, whereas here we've got stuff here, we got stuff here, we got stuff in the middle, we got stuff across the top, and it's like, why do we have all of this stuff right off the bat? Also, I don't like the fact that the current page, it's like most of the screen is static, you can't do anything with it. The only thing that's alive is this panel right here in the middle, and I'm gonna be doing some stuff with the portrait project, and I would like for us to be able to get away from that, so you don't have that where you're locked into just that middle panel, and you should be able, on a particular page, to use the whole width.
Right.
I'm assuming their upgrade will do that, but we all know what we do when we assume.
From these other spots that,
So let's navigate to there.
while she's doing that, I think one of the things that interests me is the ability to have graphics on mobile devices, because you would think a lot of folks access our county information from their phone.
Well, that's just kind of a no-brainer. I mean,
And
that's
this
gonna
new-
happen.
And this new platform would
Yeah.
allow us to have graphics versus the.
One thing, getting past all of that, something I'd like to see is one color on our pages instead of.
It's gonna be
it
hard
looks-
to read if it's all one color.
Well, with the exception of the print, all these watermarks, looks like somebody spilled grape juice on all these pages. I find it very distracting as you're going through trying to read, and it changes the background on it.
Problem with being a Luddite, I'm comfortable with what I've got.
Well, where are you seeing, where is that?
This is under the Code of Ordinances,
Oh, okay.
and
The other thing that I think,
That's me.
that's you?
Yeah, just complain to me, I can
Oh,
fix it.
okay. Tom, I don't like all the grape juice all over the thing. But I guess part of that is, do we have any standard?
I thought that was Holstein cow standing in the background.
Exactly. Do we have a standard for when a particular portion gets upgraded that we know about it?
Well,
I mean, I've got to give Tom kudos for updating everything, but,
That's my site. I do the code, so,
okay,
but I'll fix that while we're speaking.
okay.
I like it the way. Can you make it brighter?
well, I think
I'm gonna change
One
it
of the things
from
that-
grape juice to orange juice.
Okay.
that might be helpful is to recognize that there are at least two groups of users. You know, I tend to go to the same 2 or 3 places each time. And the GIS, for example, is one place I go fairly frequently. And it's not easy to get there. It would be nice if, and I know some sites have this, that you can very quickly identify where you're going, and with a click, you can get to those items if you know what you're looking for.
County Maps GIS, right on the front page.
Yeah, but you try to get in there, and you gotta go through a disclosure, at least with the mobile, there's a disclosure statement, and
And
then you
there
gotta
is.
pick the map, and then you gotta, I mean, it's a bunch of layers.
that is through Timmons.
I know.
On the hosting, so
So
we're limited,
somehow or
very
another,
limited in what
you
we can do
busted
in that
out of
regard.
the-
But yes, you have to
site
do
template.
the disclaimer and click
This
I
is my
agree
own
before it
template.
will allow you to.
So in other
And
words,
that was
he
part of our
busted out of the
contract,
template.
So you busted out of it.
The map we had before this version here
Larry
was
didn't
more,
think-
was
you could-
easier to work.
That's right. You know, there are people that know what they're looking for, and it needs to be, you know, easy to find and easy to go to those things. One of the problems is that you can get there in several different ways. You can go through, like, local government or the departments, or in some cases, like the Code of Ordinances, it has its own tab there that you can
Right.
click, or the comp plan. So I think there's a little bit of consideration of the users that are trying this for the first time or rarely use it, just looking for, you know, certain kinds of information. They need more help than others that can get down into the detail pretty quickly. I've actually seen some sites that will remember you as a user, and it'll pop up, here are your last 3 things you did, and you can click one of those, and it'll take you right
Call
to it.
Amazon.
Yeah. They'll send you the same stuff that you already bought if you aren't careful.
And we could actually talk to a group of the realtors, because I get a lot of concerns from realtors that they don't like the site. And it was also easier to use before than it is now. And, there's one section on here that, well, it used to be on here and it's not, something that the realtors use all the time.
On the GIS or on the
Is that the
county
Vamanet,
website?
Mr. Crozier? Is that the Vamanet link?
Yes,
chart?
yes.
Yes, that's
Okay, because, yeah, the VAMAnet is something that I hear from
You can pull
every
up the
single
property
one.
cards
Yes,
and.
sir, that's a Stonewall Technology product,
Okay,
and,
You know,
Can't they subscribe to that on
yes,
their
sir,
own?
they can. VAMnet essentially has, two products, one for, municipalities and then one for anyone else.
Okay.
And we are in the process of transitioning from that AS400 platform to another platform.
right.
So the information is available, it's just not available through our.
Right, and I mean, our realtors are very comfortable and enjoy the fact that they can use our website, because a lot of times VAMAnet may not be up to date on the realtor side, whereas on the county side it is.
Yes, sir. That is something we're working on in conjunction with the Cameron project, and I can help coordinate that with Elsa.
Okay, I mean, I don't have a clue about any of it, but,
Two other content issues. One is you go to the supervisors, and you get this big, long legal description of where our area is. A map would work much better. I mean, if you need to keep that there, fine for detail, but, you know, you look at this thing and it's mind-boggling. Another one is,
it's that's
yeah,
very mind-boggling right there.
is another one
That's
is,
something we need to take
when you're
this
looking at, dining available, I got a big, long list that's alphabetical. Laying it out in some way by which part of the county you're in would also be useful. And I can probably spend more time and come up with more of those things, but those are just content issues.
And that's something that the chamber could probably, if we had a direct chamber link.
And our Visit Orange site has
Right.
more of that content than the general government site.
This is light years above what some jurisdictions are using, but it's,
How about, suggestion, is that let us work with the vendor to come up with at least a prototype of what this would look like, and then that way you all could react to something.
Well, if you go to the homepage right now, and you've got those things across the top, for instance, if you click on business in orange, you go to the Think Orange, and that's great, that's, you know, so it's totally unlike the homepage, which is static and boring and so forth.
Same thing when you go to tourism.
If you click on visiting orange,
Yeah.
you get this, you know, this great website. If you click on the code of ordinances, Mr. Lachany has built a nice site.
except for the
Jim
grape
didn't
juice.
like the blue blotches,
I'll
but,
fix it.
so, I mean, for me, I just want something that's more fluid and you can more quickly get around in. And I know everybody's different, everybody looks at these differently, but I just think there's just way too much stuff on the homepage. You know, I don't think we need agendas and minutes on the homepage. I don't think we need code of ordinances on the homepage, or media notifications, or, you know,
Especially when I can get to it through the county government.
Germana Wilderness Area Plan. I just don't think we need individual links to all that.
I agree, that
You know,
it's,
These need to come under, you know.
Government.
We got, county government, and then we've got county government, and then we also have departments. Well, the departments should be under county government.
I've noticed with the other, with like James City County or Danville, where there are icons that are static on the home page, that if you push like services or
Yeah, they're-
departments, then boom, it's not taken up on the first page, but it's an icon, it says what it means, there's a alphanumeric on it. So I think by going to icons on the front page and having a little more fluid, cleans it up, and then people can point and click to go down. There's a 3-click rule, it shouldn't take more than 3 clicks to get where you're going. Right now with this, we got a lot of clicks to get to where you're going.
Yeah, there's a balance to be struck between trying to limit the number of clicks and then also trying to get too many clicks on one page. And you're searching through all the different links to try to figure out which one. It's also confusing that these things at the top, some of them have drop-down menus and some of them don't. So it almost looks like if you mouse over visiting Orange, nothing happens.
Nothing happens,
Kinda
yeah.
looks like there's nothing there.
Unless you click on it.
Yeah.
And get to the new website.
Whereas the other ones, you mouse over it and there's, 40 links that come down, and you have to very carefully edge your way down.
And if this is your pointer, you're in trouble, let me tell you.
So,
This is not a good pointer.
let me suggest, let us work with the vendor to come up with at least a prototype for you all to look at, and certainly taking into mind everything that you all have said of what you think a new website should do and frankly should not do, and just come back and then kind of take it from there. But I think it probably could be easier for you all to react to something.
I think one thing we have to be, we have to distill this. There's at least three different areas here. There is the platform itself and how easy it is to work with. There is, how it's laid out for the viewer. So you got, how easy is it to work with from behind and how easy is it to navigate from in front?
Inside out, the outside
And
in.
then there's content. That's kind of the last piece, but I mean,
Yes,
and there may be more, but there's at least those three areas that are,
no, you're right.
they're
because
connected in a sense, but they're three distinct areas.
It's a great way of characterizing it.
The platform update is coming kind of whether we like it or not, but they can do the platform without changing anything on the website. I mean, it can look and feel the same, but for the back end user, we can access and make changes, a little more easily. But to your point, Mark, what I'm concerned about is with this update, they've made a lot of improvements to the homepage capabilities. All three of the ones I provided, for example, are very visually appealing. It takes up the entire screen.
Can you click through them again? Because like I said, I haven't been able to
Yes.
see them.
This one is James City County. You see their county seal, a full screen photograph. When you go to their homepage, they have some very, narrow, quick links there. They just have three probably of their most frequently used ones. Current news is where you would see what we have as newsflash coming up now.
I can see why Lee wasn't impressed by that one.
And
It doesn't do a lot for me.
there's been an update to the calendar, capabilities, and then, they've got their social media feed, which we don't have, but some of their, like, FAQs are down here at the bottom, whereas we have them on the right-hand side of the screen. So that one's James City County. This is Danville, Virginia. Again, a full screen graphic, and they've limited theirs to live, work, play, and experience. All of them have a full screen drop-down menu. And instead of navigating very carefully over, you can see kind of your menu headers here and then your subcategories.
So if I'm going there looking for something, I'm going, live, experience. Does this fit into live or experience? I mean,
Right.
I'm not really sure. I don't care for that one either. I don't like that. I mean,
So-
these look slightly more dynamic than our site.
They're prettier.
I don't see them as being better than our site so far.
And that's where, I'm seeing a lot of improvements on their home screens, but to your point, when you click on one of their sub pages, this is what you're getting. And we have the left-hand links, and the content is only in the center there again. Well,
I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. There's probably a lot of cases where that's the way to have it. I just thought from limited discussions with Larry that we were kind of locked into all our pages had to look that way, but obviously, they're not, because some of the pages are not that way. So
Right, well,
Larry
Tom,
probably just thought I couldn't figure it out. So.
Now, mine's
is a
mine's an
completely
independent
different
site.
website.
By the way, a fixture issue.
Oh, thank you, sir.
as is the tourism website and economic
Okay, those
development.
are totally independent sites on totally
Completely.
different platforms?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
They had different designs, they're hosted by different companies.
Yeah, they have different, addresses even.
Yes,
Okay.
and
What's the last one?
last one is Portland, Maine.
They have a sustainability office, look at that. They have the icons on the left if you,
Yes,
if
the
you
picture
hover
is
over
slow
it.
loading, but,
And it doesn't tell you what the icons are.
Yeah, it
Or
does.
does it?
Until you
right, it'll have a little icon, and when you
Yeah.
click on it, you've got services.
So we have mystery
views.
icons.
Yes,
Well, it's just slow loading.
One there looks like a car battery.
But if you
It's just
hover
taking a
over-
while, cause it's all the way up in Portland.
Yeah.
So we don't have to
It's
click,
still
but
very
we have to
cold
hover
over
for
there.
a
That's
while.
right.
So the internet's moving very slow up there.
How about if we approach it this way, we have content subject to some additional improvements on our current content that seems to be where everybody's comfort level is. The mechanics of the outside, or the inside out, are real difficult for us to manage the website on the current platform.
That I don't have any problem with making that change.
Yeah, and
That's-
then in the content beyond, in the main it works. There are some specific things that need improvement, but then the visual navigation, some of it's too busy, some of it's not clear enough. That's where I keep coming back, is if we have these overarching directions of the outside in, inside out, and content, well, we can come back with at least a prototype for you all to move to another level of review and reaction.
Well, the inside out is primarily for the staff making changes.
That's correct.
And if that's gonna be smoother, great. The outside in, that's,
What is our schedule? How long is the agreement for them to assist us in the redesign? How long does that?
they were
Right.
pretty flexible when Larry and I talked to them. They were kind of thinking if we can give them some direction on where we're going in first quarter of next year, just giving them direction on,
Okay, so we could have
Yes.
an iterative process if we need to, okay. I think that's,
and there are, as part of the contract, we have the redesign, and we're not paying anything additional for that. There are some added options that we can purchase if we want, and I can get more information on that, but, on kind of the à la carte things that we could pick and choose from. But they're kind of at, our pace. We just know that the platform we're working on now is end of life at the end of next year.
right, okay.
So how about if we take this and move it to another level with the prototype and at least come back and engage the board on.
Why don't you get them to do a prototype and you can bring back to us?
I think that's a wonderful idea, Mr. Johnson, and we'll proceed accordingly.
With that, we will proceed, okay. Are you ready to?
we're having too much fun here.
Yeah, I know. Time to leave the work session and go back to work.
Do some real work.
All right, you ready, Ms. Allison?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the agenda. I guess, are we adding an item
Yes, sir.
for old business?
Yes, sir. Recommend we add the matter concerning USAC payment options,
Right,
and that would be item 6A. That's the Universal Service Access Corporation. This is concerning the fiber project.
okay.
And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
And I have, I guess under new business, would be 5B, which would be discussion of through traffic on Rapidan Road, Route 615.
And I also have an item under new business, I guess could be C. I have resolutions, joint resolutions from the House of Delegates and the State Senate on two matters involving Orange County that I'd like to present and then pass off to their final users. I'll give them to you, but I'll mention those when we get there. Okay, anything else? Is there a motion
I move that we approve it.
as amended? Okay, second? Second. Second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, special presentations and appearances. Certificate of appreciation. I see a smile.
Mr. Chairman, we have some comments that we're gonna, read as well.
Okay,
Before you make
go
your
ahead.
presentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, members of the board, we wish to recognize Ms. Brenda Lloyd on her retirement from the Orange County Department of Social Services, which she has faithfully served since August 1st, 1972. Ms. Lloyd joined what was then known as the Orange County Welfare Department right after she graduated from Orange County High School. She was hired as a clerk typist, but worked her way up through the ranks to become an eligibility worker and finally an eligibility supervisor. During her tenure, her title became known as the Benefit Program Supervisor, and she has served in that capacity for the remainder of her career. At this time, we'd like to thank Ms. Lloyd for her devoted service to the citizens of Orange County and for her interest in the welfare of her community over these past 46 years. Thank you.
I have here a certificate of appreciation. The County of Orange presents this certificate to Brenda Lloyd and wishes to express its sincere thanks and gratitude for her 46 years of dedicated service. Your wisdom and commitment to excellence have long inspired all of us and will be remembered for many years to come. We wish you good health, happiness, and continued success in your retirement. Granted December 18th, 2018, signed Chairman Tidway. Now we got the smile. And thank you. One more little beauty to go with that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Crystal and the county staff had a dinner
Yes.
for Brenda the other
Yes.
night that was quite well attended and a lot of remarks made, and some folks that from Brenda's past came and said good things.
Yes, a lot of years there. A lot of good times, though.
And I think,
Lucky.
Crystal, tell them what you gave her, the frame.
Oh, looking in Brenda's file, I found the original, congratulations letter, or congratulatory letter for, being hired. And, it was, onion paper thin, and it said, "We hope you enjoy your work here." And I think 46 years, I hope is proof that she enjoyed it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Been a great career.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Presentation of the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Representatives of PB Mears, Ms. Hedrick and company.
Yes, I brought Andrea Nichols with me today. Andrea is an audit supervisor at our firm, and she was really the one that was responsible for the day-to-day execution of the audit. So, good evening. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the county's comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended.
Now, stop right there just a
Okay.
second. Everybody take note of that. That's an important statement. That is the statement of the evening.
Yes, an unmodified opinion on the county's comprehensive annual report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2018. And as you know, an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion, and that's really the best opinion that we can issue as auditors. The other two reports we have issued are located in the compliance section in the back of the financial statements. The first one is our report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. And the second report relates to our audit of the county's major federal programs. Our findings are described beginning on page 169, followed by management's corrective action. One item that I will point out in this year's financial statements is that the county was required to implement the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement number 75, accounting and financial reporting for post-employment benefits other than pensions, and we refer to that as OPEB in this year's financial statements. So GASB 75 requires a liability to be reported for defined benefit OPEB. So beginning that position was restated in conjunction with the adoption of the new accounting standard. Notes 11 through 13 in the comprehensive annual report describes the county's other post-employment benefit liabilities and that adjustment. Just as a reminder, the management's discussion and analysis in the front of the CAFR really provides a financial summary of the fiscal year and a kind of a snapshot. And then the statistical section in the back provides some historical 10-year trend data that I always think is good to reference as you plan. Lastly, I believe you have copies of our management letter and our report to the Board of Supervisors, which describes certain matters that we are required by professional standards to communicate to you. So if we would have had difficulties in performing audit procedures or disagreements with management or anything like that, that would be in that report, and we did not. The audit went very smoothly. So we really appreciate the opportunity to serve as the county's auditors and all of the cooperation and the courtesies extended to us from all the departments that we had to work with. Any questions?
You and I had a discussion the other day on a couple of matters. I think might be enlightening for the board if you would just in a very summary, couple of minute fashion, talk a little bit about the level of testing and that you do as part of the audit, looking for sort of testing procedures to look for opportunities for problems to occur. I was quite impressed that as part of the audit, we really get a fairly in-depth look at how we do things and where our vulnerabilities might be. So if you could just sort of summarize that part, I think that's an important piece of the audit that doesn't get a lot of attention frequently.
Absolutely. Well, our audit planning process actually starts in April. And we begin our planning phase kind of reading board minutes, making sure that we kind of look back at last year's work papers and start to develop an audit plan. And then we schedule our preliminary field work, usually in that May-June timeframe. And during that timeframe is when we focus on the county's internal control framework and your systems and your processes and your procedures. So a part of that is interviewing and inquiring of key folks that are part of those procedures, and not only asking about whether there have been changes to steps, but also verifying what is being told to us in those interviews. So we test controls, we inspect, we observe, we run random samples, and again, kind of test transactions from the initiation all the way through, the various approvals, segregation of duties, all the way to the end reporting. Also during that planning phase is when we do a lot of the Virginia Auditor of Public Accounts state compliance procedures. They push down a lot of requirements to local government auditors, and we try to address a lot of that in that planning process. We also do just inquiries of various department heads, just asking whether or not there's any areas of concern that you have. And that, all of that and the results of our internal control procedures sort of feed and tailor into our final audit plan. We know which account balances and transaction cycles that we may need to do a deeper dive into when we do our testing, when we actually focus on year-end balances. So that's a little bit about, I feel like we're very detail-oriented in it. As I told you, I think we spend as much time here in the preliminary phase looking at internal control systems as we do in the final phase doing the testing of account balances, because it's so key to have a good internal control structure in place that we can rely on for accurate financial reporting at the end of the year.
This is important because if you think about it, we have a lot of departments and people that are handling, in some cases, money directly, in some cases, citizens' money, but they're also handling information. And so there's a major responsibility to do that according to guidelines and protect it. And I was pleased to hear the conversation and the priority that you assign to those inquiries and tests. Okay, any questions?
I have a question. A forensic audit. How does that differ from what you're doing on a normal audit like that?
A forensic audit, you usually have a very defined risk or issue that you're looking into. And with the internal control procedures that we follow, there are auditing standards and professional rules that we have to follow with understanding those procedures. I think with a forensic audit, it's more detailed testing. Maybe less on the process, and maybe more at the end, if you do have an issue, taking a step back and going, were the procedures in place that should have prevented this, or did it catch it? We do have an arm of our firm called Artifice Forensic Group. He was actually a former FBI agent who does a lot of forensic audits for us. Not with, thankfully, not with a lot of our clients, but with other folks that know his area specialty that we can pull in when we have
You
these
just had a
issues.
little experience with forensic audits.
If something comes that gives myself, maybe Ms. Bradley, something just didn't appear right and things like that, then we would engage them to track down something that just didn't seem to be jiving in with the financial kind of root of it. So fortunately, we don't have that it really doesn't occur, but sometimes there's enough of a pause where we would engage them to do that type of analysis.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Second.
Good. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, new business, Rescue Station 23, renovation bid update. Stephanie, you're back.
Good evening, gentlemen. I worked closely with Mr. Kane to release a bid for the renovation of Rescue Station 23, which is a rescue station located at 151 Berry Hill Road. We released the solicitation early November. We had a very well-attended walkthrough meeting right after Thanksgiving, and were able to better define what we were looking for after that walkthrough meeting and some of the feedback we got back from potential contractors, and were able to refine what we were asking for. We received bids and opened them publicly on December 11th, and the lowest bidding company is Synchronized Construction Services, a local company, and their bid was for $149,264. And again, this is for the construction portion. We do have a separate contract through the University of Virginia for the fire sprinkler upgrade. So if you look in the middle of my memo, I've done my best to break down the potential costs of this project for you so you have a more holistic view. And the initial cost listed here is for the fire suppression, and that came in under the contracted rates at $54,000. The next item is the renovation costs. The next item is the cost for built-in lockers in the bunk rooms. And the appliances for the kitchen. We put a little bit of contingency in there for a grand total of the project for $220,764. As you recall, earlier this fall, you approved a budget amount of $118,000, and so we're here this evening to relay our results to you and ask that that budget shortfall, if you feel appropriate, be taken from contingency to make us whole in the project. And to let the agreement with Synchronized Construction Services.
Okay. Any questions for Stephanie or? From a scope standpoint, these are all the major items that we had discussed in terms of the renovations as we did the walkthrough. Is there anything else that we're holding off or need to do later, or these kind of things of any size?
This is just the crew quarters, the bunk rooms and the kitchen area, just to get the crew into a adequate living space.
So there's still some demolition and other things in other parts. Is that correct?
Correct, the storage space, the, gear locker, all that stuff has been taken out.
Okay.
The scope just shifted to the crew quarters to get the crew in there to
Right.
adequate space.
Right, okay.
Aren't a lot of the demolition costs done away with by training?
The upper,
Fire and
if
rescue.
you recall, the upper bay where they want to put the storage area and the fitness testing area, they have been, I don't believe they've started, but their intention is to use that as the training.
Doing
portion.
training, and in training, they
There's some
will actually.
stick built
Do the
walls
demolition,
that add to
okay.
that.
Good idea for the report.
What's the
You get to have
timeframe
fun
that
while
you
you do it.
expect this to be ready for occupancy?
We put in there a start date of the first of the year, so right off the bat after the holidays, get started. We did a 90-day turnaround.
Do you anticipate it taking 90 days unless they uncover something with plumbing or something that we weren't able to accommodate for?
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I would make. Go ahead, I've been beating you.
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay. Route 615
Yes.
through traffic matter. Mr. Good.
In discussing this several times with constituents, what I'd like to do is to move that we, get this to a public hearing, move it up to the Commonwealth of the, Transportation Board, for restricting through traffic on 615. To do this, you need alternate routes that are appropriate, which would be 15 and 522. So if we could, that's what I would like to make a motion for, and I will read the motion I am supposed to make. I move to authorize that an advertised public hearing be scheduled pursuant to section 36.2-809, regulation of truck traffic on primary and secondary highways of the Code of Virginia, to receive public comment on a request to the Commonwealth Transportation Board that through truck traffic on Rapidan Road, Virginia State Road 615, be restricted. The county administrator is to provide separate notice of this public hearing to Culpeper County.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Goodwin? So you want to deal with this when we come to calendar items, or you want to just make the motion and then have it be scheduled as part of the next?
Yes, sir, he could go, you all could adopt this motion, and we would go through the process of advertising.
Advertising, okay.
This probably won't be until maybe
Right, the first available meeting, it could be used the January 22nd,
second meeting.
just
Okay.
because of advertising requirements.
Okay.
Do we need a second on that and then discussion, or?
Second discussion.
Okay, for discussion, I would second that motion.
Okay. Discussion.
Yes. I understand the concern in Rapidan. And I'll have to say, I've had no less than 10 other roads addressed to me in the last 2 weeks that people have the same concern. We seem to be getting traffic pushed in from everywhere else. And as I said, I understand this, but I see it opening the floodgates for virtually every other road in the county, people coming up to us that have the same concern about traffic, truck traffic, industrial traffic. And one example I can use is Route 621 and Route 604 on the fringes of all three of our districts when Dominion put in their transfer station. We had a 6-month period where we were having 50 trucks a day coming in our roads in Orange County, working on a project that was not even in Orange County. It was in Spotsylvania, and doing tremendous damage, causing traffic concerns and everything else. I think a whole lot of this concern from Rapidan was due to a project that maybe could have gotten a little more publication, which was the paving of the airport at Charlottesville. it had to be done at night and everything else, and maybe stuff could have been rerouted if there'd been some more concern. But I do look at this as opening up a major concern for all roads in the county, and, it is a state road. I don't live there, I live elsewhere, so, I don't experience that all the time. I did go over there and sit for a while the other day. I saw 2 trucks and a bunch of regular traffic. So I just want everyone to think about what this has the possibility of doing, to other roads within the county. And, we limit, everybody wants gravel delivered to their house for their driveways, asphalt for their driveways, UPS, furniture, everything else. And if we restrict this traffic, the trucks, it may get to a point where trucks are not going to be able to get to half of the county because they're on restricted roads, to get to it. So I just want to go on record with that being noted. I do understand this concern, though.
Do we have any indication as to what the standards that the Transportation Board uses with regard to, well, I saw the law,
Right.
but in terms of, I mean, we're just making a request,
Right.
and the Transportation Board has to do this. Are we talking, given your particular proposal, is there how much of a significant change in distance, or what other communities do we tick off when we?
The cost of commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, the primary thing on this is through traffic.
Yeah,
Local
understand.
traffic, which includes the gravel quarry. That's local business. But, lately, since I live on 615, I've noticed a lot more of trucks that didn't used to be there. And they're picking up from the GIS systems and running through. Roads are designed for them, but they have alternate routes that are better. And so that's the only request.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be just interesting to see what the Transportation Board does in terms of what are their criteria. I mean, I can suspect we get a large number of requests, as Jim indicates.
Like I said, 621 does not save any time. It's just as long to go up to Route 20 or up 621 to get to this end of the county. However, everybody uses 621. I passed a propane tanker, a tractor trailer today, as I was coming up here on 621, just cutting through. So, yes, I see the exact
You
same,
do have a large station there in Mine Run that we,
wasn't going there though.
okay.
That was the first thing I
Even when
looked
you
to see.
prohibit through traffic,
Right,
that if somebody's going to make a delivery, they can still go there.
right.
Yeah.
And this does not prevent panel trucks, which, what's the definition of a panel truck? If it doesn't bend in the middle, it's a panel truck. So some of those are pretty darn long. Like I said, I fully understand this. I just wanna make sure that on the broad spectrum, we're looking at this. Serving on VACO's Transportation, Committee, we are hearing the exact same traffic issues, across a large portion of the state, because our interstates are filled to the max, so everything just pushes farther off, and I think this will cause more havoc than what it will solve. That's just my opinion. But I do understand it, sir.
Okay.
All right, well, it seems to me that, do we know if VDOT has done any traffic counts to identify the through traffic volume that we're dealing with here?
Not sure what all Alan and them have done.
Because
I mean, there was a traffic study done because the traffic speed was reduced
right,
for trucks, and that was done in Orange County and in Culpeper County. It dropped to 45 for most of the distance.
Because my related concern to Jim's is that this regulation applies only to through traffic. And it is possible, I certainly don't have the numbers, but it is possible that that is a very small fraction of the overall traffic volume, trucks or otherwise. And I want to be, we need to be careful that we don't raise expectations that every truck will be prohibited, because it's likely that, you know, a very small percentage of trucks would be regulated by this, which is fine. That's something worth considering. But I think it's important that we are clear, and I guess I would ask Allison to, as our contact with VDOT, to see if they have any kind of information such that when we get to the public consideration of this, that we would have better
More
information
information.
to deal with. So.
Right, one of the things the county attorney and I talked about, and briefly with Simpson, is that we would engage Alan Saunders, resident engineer, to make sure that we're preparing your briefing materials in an appropriate way. Because in talking with the county attorney, your authority is really just to make a request. And that you can read this in a way that providing alternatives is really a duty of the Commonwealth Transportation Board and not yours. You're just making the request. I asked the county attorney and searched, and there is no definition of through truck traffic or local truck traffic in the Code of Virginia. So the standard that they are applying is written here in the code. They can provide restrictions that promote the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the Commonwealth, which pretty wide latitude in their discretion. I would imagine that once this gets to the Commonwealth Transportation Board and through VDOT staff, their traffic counts, the split between the different types of vehicles, accident history, all that goes into the mix, but it still comes back to not local, it's through truck traffic.
And the other part of this is that we are one of the local governing bodies that are part of this, and I don't know if action is being taken by Culpeper County in a similar fashion or not. It seems to me that it needs to be coordinated to have any effect, because to deal with only our side of the river traffic, if that's the way to describe it, is that presents Commonwealth Transportation Board a different dilemma. So I think we need to, as part of this, either just have discussions need to be had with Culpeper to see if they're going to participate in this, or if it's appropriate that we take separate action. I'd like to have some kind of report on that as part of our package as well.
Right, I'll working with Mr. Goodwin, added that I will give separate notice to my counterpart, John Eggerston, in Culpeper County. You all are just receiving a comment. There is no action until after you're authorized to take, until on the other side. I will have some information as part of your briefing materials, at least an indication of whether they have considered it, making a request to the Commonwealth Transportation or not, and you'll have that to inform whatever decision you would do on the other side of the public hearing.
Okay.
Right now, it's just to have a public hearing on this, to receive comment, and I imagine you will receive quite a bit of comment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
We'll shoot for the January 22nd meeting, but if something keeps us, we'll move it to, but certainly the first available meeting. We're shooting for the January 22nd meeting at 7 p.m.
Okay, item 6C deals with resolutions from the Commonwealth of Virginia General Assembly. The first one I have is a House Joint Resolution number 65 commemorating the life and legacy of Captain Andrew Maples Jr. As you know, there was a historical marker placed recently, and Delegate Freitas was the patron of this, and he has had the General Assembly pass this joint resolution, and it is, has been given to me to make as a sort of a public announcement, but also to pass this along to the Orange Downtown Alliance to, for their use. I will hold it up just so the camera can see it. It's a nice resolution jointly passed and signed, and I will provide that to Allison. Similarly, you might recall that earlier this year, the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, which is in my district, celebrated their anniversary, and I'm trying to see if the number, 125 years. Delegate Freitas and I were both there, and we did a resolution ourselves. Now we have the formal one coming from a joint resolution for both the House delegates and the Senate, commending and recognizing, and I will keep this one and pass it along to the church for their purposes. So I wanted to be sure to recognize those. Okay. Old business, we have an item, the USAC payments. Stephanie, you're back.
It's hard to take John Harkness's place.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
want money.
That's right.
I don't know if I like that title. As you recall, in October, I came before you and received permission to add an addendum to computer cabling and telephone services contract with us to essentially pay our fiber vendor monies that are due to his company from USAC up to $50,000. And I came to you with that request because USAC had that internal error where they were unable to pay him, and we weren't sure if our project was going to be extended. As you recall, the FCC mandated that USAC extend our project dates. That mandate came down on October 31st of this past fall. USAC has updated our project deadline in their system to June 30th, 2019, which is what we requested. What should have also been done at the same time is that the ability for our contractors to submit invoices should have also been extended to October 1st, 2019. That was not done. It is still saying October 1st, 2018, so he is still unable to provide invoices. He has tickets open with them. I've also been working in conjunction with my counterpart at the school system, and they have engaged their USAC representative, so the school system has tickets open. USAC has acknowledged in these tickets that it is their issue. They can read the requirements from the FCC. They just, for some reason, can't update their system. And I received invoices for the contractor early part of November with $23,000 due from county funds and $99,040 due from USAC. And those were for expenses incurred starting in July 1 up until second week of November. I was able to use the first $50,000 that you authorized me to pay a portion of those. However, there is still $55,350 remaining on this most recent batch of invoices, and I'm before you this evening seeking permission to either pay those again from the general fund balance, like we did the first time, or to seek guidance as to how you wish me to proceed.
And these would be under the same terms with the contractor that
Yes,
we
sir.
have in terms of repayment?
Yes,
when-
sir.
When the money is finally,
Within 30 days of him receiving payment from USAC, he is to cut us a check for the entire amount, and we are noting that in our accounting system. So we're able to
Ms. Bradley and I and Stephanie talked about the accounting methodology for this, and it really is booked as a receivable from the contractor, so it really is kind of a placeholder more or less in the budget, I think is probably a way of characterizing.
or to characterize it another way, USAC is using us as their bank.
Yes, sir.
That is very accurate.
And they think local government's messed up.
Yeah, I have nicer language for it.
Yes.
And
The mic is on too, but
And unfortunately, I have tried to reach out and obtain information as to when this may be resolved. As you recall, last time it took about 8 months. So unfortunately, I don't have a specific resolution date in mind that I can accurately provide you at this time.
Not working with the federal government, you want.
I would make the motion, based on the fact that the contractor has worked
Yes, sir.
nonstop through some rather miserable conditions that, he encountered due to USAC not doing what they were supposed to.
I'll second.
okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Department Director, Constitutional Officer reports. See none. County Attorney report.
No report.
Okay, County Administrator's report.
I have none other than, gentlemen, I put out in front of your seats tonight a report from the Virginia Chamber of Commerce Foundation. This was released a week ago, yesterday. It's an economic impact of Amazon's major corporate headquarters. It goes into a lot of economic analysis and things. The only thing I do is I draw your attention to the map on the front page. And if you look at the bottom, this dark blue is the metropolitan statistical area of the Washington metro area. If you look, there's a little slice there that kind of juts into that statistical area. That's our Germanna Wilderness area. That's Orange County. And talking with Patrick Monty at the Planning District Commission and kind of noodling through all this, I would imagine that the next census will include some portion of Orange County in the metropolitan statistical area. But what that also means is that the economic impact from this major decision by Amazon will have some type of effect on us, and I think in a positive economic development way for creating jobs and business investment in the Germanna Wilderness area. So I bring that to your attention.
Okay. All right, board comment. Anyone?
Yes. I was given a notice that was run in a paper outside of Orange County regarding the Madison, what are they calling it? The Sol Madison Solar LLC project. It's the 400-acre solar project in Locust Grove. At this point so far, I don't believe that the local paper has gotten it to run as a public notice. So I've asked Allison to go ahead, put it on our website and push it out to all of our social users. Because the way that this seems to be put out is people will have a 30-minute time period if they don't feel like writing into the company. 30 minutes at the Wilderness Library on January 15th to have any input. And I think it deserves a little bit more than that, and I'll be submitting something to them to that regard. But being that the scope of this project and the impact that it could ultimately have on the county, I felt it was important to get out there. Thank you.
Where was that?
The Locust Grove Library, which paper?
Yeah, where was it? Where did they?
in the,
Daily Progress.
Yes,
Charlottesville.
yes.
How can they get away without putting it in the local paper?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my concern here, is, I don't think that anybody in that, demographic area probably really cares about it. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other board comment?
It was kind of obviously done to
avoid.
to avoid anybody knowing, because, you would, if you know, the Freelance Star would have been, an obvious choice if they really wanted to.
Absolutely, and considering, I think all these papers are now sister papers, would have been very easy for them to do, but, this is a concern I've had all
Culpeper
along.
would have made sense.
Yeah.
The orange paper would have made sense.
Right.
The Charlottesville paper doesn't make any sense at all.
So,
I doubt if they have,
Unless you're trying to avoid,
I doubt if they have
Right.
10 subscribers,
yeah, exactly.
in that area.
So, that's all I had, thank you.
Okay. Any other board comment? Okay, any questions on the information items? Appointments to boards and commissions.
Mr. Chairman, I received a call from the clerk to the town, Orange Town Council this morning. And at their meeting yesterday evening, they unanimously recommended Ronnie Rankin, to be reappointed to the EDA.
EDA, okay. All right,
At the very, very end of that meeting. I would make the motion that, he be appointed.
okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Any other appointments before we move on? All right. Calendar items. Let's see, we have 3 public hearings to be scheduled for, for January 8th, is that right? Yeah,
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, we have a change there as well.
okay, all right.
Susan and I carried these items forward from the previous agenda because of the way the planning commission meeting fell, and I did not catch that when the agenda was published. So our first available date because of advertising is actually the January 22nd board meeting.
For all 3 of these?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
If you want to do all 3 of them in the same evening, yes, sir.
any objection to scheduling them all on the same evening?
If I recall from the planning commission meeting, there really was only folks in support of these.
Have they considered all 3 of these already? They have?
They've already considered all of these and,
Okay.
recommended they recommended approval for all 3.
Oh, the mini storage did have a adjoining property owner express concern. It was,
Okay,
Sentimental concerns, I believe.
all right. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. All right. Let's see. I think we are through our agenda. We're going to have public comment at 6 o'clock. Is that, let me see what,
15 minutes.
yeah, 15 minutes. So we will recess for 15 minutes and return at 6 o'clock. We'll note that we have an off-site meeting this evening as well, and following public comment, and we will adjourn at the end of that meeting.
and there'll be no business to it.
Right, okay? So we'll recess for 15 minutes.
We could go back and do website design.
Collect them on a regular basis.
Okay, call the meeting back to order. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone signed up, Allison?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we currently have 8 speakers signed up.
Okay,
First is John Bensko, resident of Rapidan.
okay. Since I understand since we have 8 people signed up, I ask that you try to abide by our 3-minute rule, if you would. Get to the point. I have a timer here. I don't know how much noise it's gonna make, but just to alert me. So, floor is
All right,
yours.
well, I'm here just to talk about safety on Highway 615, which, Rapidan Road and Main Street in Orange. And we've noticed over the last few years just really an alarming increase in traffic, and not just traffic, but traffic that's speeding. And it's a real safety issue. There are some very tight turns on 615 where, where there are hills and curves at the same time and roads coming out into there. The Clark's Mountain Road comes at a place where it's between 2 turns and then coming over a hill. And the large trucks on that road, one of the reasons they go that way, I think, is because they feel like they can speed on that road. You hardly ever see them going the speed limit. They're always going, almost always, pushing the limit on that. And as a consequence, they can't stay in their lanes. And, we've had numerous occasions where we've come around curves and, there's a truck out there and, partly in your lane and you're coming over a hill and there they are. So it's just a matter of time until, there's some pretty serious accidents, and we know people who have already been hit. There just haven't, been any kind of fatalities or serious injuries yet, but, we're really concerned about it, and it's a matter of several things coming together. I think one is that one big thing is the new GPS systems, and what they do is they feed in data from cars that have the GPS system. If somebody speeds down that road, it looks like you can get from one place to another in a shorter length of time, and so they push that thing up on the rankings, and it just compounds the problem. So one of the things we really need out there, I really appreciate the thought about trying to do something about the through trucks. That would certainly help a lot. But we really need traffic calming measures, and we need more law enforcement out there. And we would really like to have more of that road reduced down to 45 miles an hour for everybody, because I think one thing that happens psychologically with the trucks is they see, well, 55 for cars and 45 for us, that means we can do, we can do 55. So, a long time ago, some people on the orange side of that road got it reduced down to 45 miles an hour. And really there's this whole stretch between Rapidan and there, which is 55, which has some very dangerous curves and hills and things like that on there. So if you could also do something about that, that would really help a lot. And just anything that can be done to try to do traffic calming measures around Rapidan, in Rapidan, and in Orange too, because in Orange there's a big problem with those large trucks trying to make turns onto the Salem Road that goes by the high school, and also down in front of the Holiday House where it occurs there. There's two really tight turns there that are very hard for those large trucks to make. And so, it would really help if something could be done. I think that would help a lot. And one thing I think to keep in mind is that these trucks, if they didn't, it's a very small difference to go that way rather than another way.
Okay.
Am I up?
Your time's up.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm done.
Next speaker is Carrie Holliday, resident of Rapidan.
Hi, good evening. My neighbors and I represent Citizens for a Safer 615, which is the citizens group to make 615 Rapidan Road and Main Street safer. And we are really afraid with this increased volume of traffic, particularly the increased volume of industrial traffic. We are really afraid for our safety, and that's the chief point that I want to make. We want to maintain the quality of life that Orange County has been known for. Route 615 is a residential area. It goes through residential neighborhoods. Families live there, children live there, pets, wildlife. And please understand, none of us are against business. And nobody on that road is going to lose their job if they drive for a living, if they drive a truck, say, for a living. They're not going to lose their job for going the speed limit. But on a daily basis, we live with dangerous speeding along 615. We're having close calls daily with the heavy traffic and with these great big vehicles coming down 615. We need enforcement, we need restrictions, we need every kind of help we can get. And 615 is one of only 2 byways in Orange County. And it should be protected. It needs to be used for tourism, which is the whole reason for having a byway. Those heavy vehicles and the through traffic should take alternate routes. 615 exists, other routes exist that those vehicles should be using, not those little windy rural routes where people are living and where our safety is being endangered. Culpeper County has ratcheted their center line so that if heavy vehicles go on that center line, they buzz. Culpeper County is being proactive. And I'm asking for you all to please support our need for increased safety and to hear our concerns. Our safety is our paramount concern as residents along that road, and we need help with traffic restrictions, traffic reduction, industrial traffic reduction, and enforcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Linda Bell, 15015 Old Gordonsville Road.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time this afternoon. I know that y'all have 6:30 commitments, so we're all trying to be brief, but this is a matter of great importance to my home, to the homes of the people in my neighborhood, and actually the homes of folks all the way along 647 to the intersection of 639. Over the past 21 months, we have we've talked about funding. There have been meetings. There's been no promise. Let me reiterate. There has been no promise that this would be a funded project. But things really progressed well, not fast, but have progressed well. And we were due for a planning meeting November 5th, and there was at that meeting a representative, if I'm saying his department correctly, the urban...
Housing and Community Development.
Okay. And he suggested not only that the application be for sewer, which is what this neighborhood needs, but that it also be opened to include all types of improvements that the neighborhood would need. In my opinion, my mind says that it put it in a whole different group of applications. The area where we are has been well cared for. It's a small neighborhood, 60-year-old homes, retired people. We have met the median income requirement. We have met the commitment of people to be involved with this. We passed the windshield survey. Things looked like they were going well. We hit this meeting and we have hit a wall. I got a phone message from Mr. David 6 weeks after this meeting, and we're blocked. We're blocked. There will be no pursual from the powers that be here and otherwise to pursue this project. We're gonna, what is going to happen, we're going to wind up, this is not the only 60-year-old neighborhood in the county that we're gonna find this problem. So in my neighborhood, we wind up with homes that are gonna be pumped 8 times in a year. Try that. We're gonna wind up with homes that are condemned, a loss of tax revenue for the county, and that does not seem fitting as a recompense for people who have paid their taxes faithfully within their whole lifetimes and look at an industry gravity-fed sewer line that is within a stone's throw from my front yard, which is what needs to be hooked up to. Gravity-fed, pump station within 1/10 of a mile means that this project would be less expensive, less extensive. So what I am here asking you guys to do tonight is to find help for there to be a way. There has to be a way for this to be accomplished, not just for my home, for the ones around me who are impacted, and the other areas in the county that are of the same situation. So I'll ask each of you to think of this as if it were your own home that's involved. And I'm sure you do that when you look at these problems. So I thank you for your time this evening. Good evening.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Cindy Pipes Johnson, 7075 Rapidan Road.
Hello, it's me again. I'm here again tonight to ask the Board of Supervisors to take action regarding a problem that has been ongoing for some time now, specifically the truck traffic on Route 615. And Teal, I thank you for beginning that process. Opening up a can of worms is just what we need, honestly. This is a problem that is across the nation, big trucks, little communities. You can do a search on it, and just as you said, sir, the infrastructure is getting used, and so we're getting pushed and pushed. We have to stop it. We have to stand up. We have to say, you know what? Move over, big trucks. This is my road. I live on this road. You know, I found out last time I was here, I gave you 2 incidents that I had experienced, unsafe things that had happened to me on the road. Last week, I don't know if I can show this or not, but it's on the Facebook, Citizens for a Safer 615. There's a 18-wheel truck driving right along, right down the middle of the road. He's carrying railroad ties. And I had seen railroad tie 18-wheel truck going to work one day, and I thought, well, maybe there's a project with the railroad. I found out yesterday that those trucks are going to the quarry because the ground is so wet. They're putting those big ties in the ground so the trucks can get in and out. So another thing that the quarry, which, you know, there are neighbors, and I'm not sure they're being the best neighbors. They've been there for a long time. My grandparents, my parents, me, you know, we're from Rapidan, and the quarry's been there a long time. I learned how to drive on that road before there was even a line in the road. There were never this many trucks before. You are our leaders in the county, and I look to you to open up cans of worms, to investigate, to get things started. This is a really big problem, and just what you said, it's starting here, it's going to end up in someone else's neighborhood. So we all need to look at this together. I have been encouraging you to please get a traffic study done. I tried to go on VDOT. I called them to see when the latest traffic study had been done. They gave me a website which has, I was clicking on every one. Is this the one? Is this the one? So I couldn't find when the last traffic study was done. Here are frequently asked questions about the process of through truck restrictions. Here is a picture from the newspaper article. Just to remind you again, in the article, the owner of the quarry says that his drivers are professional. Here's a picture of a professional driver in a gravel truck passing 2 vehicles over a double yellow line. I guess I just would like y'all to say, you know, we hear what you're saying. Teal's got the ball, going to get started now, and we really, really need your support. And I appreciate your time and your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Next speaker is Carol Hallman, resident of the town of Orange.
Hello and happy Christmas. The Orangetown Comprehensive Plan calls for limiting commercial traffic on Main Street. This is like the 15-year plan. The Orange County Comprehensive Plan's vision is to sustain the rural character of Orange County while enhancing and improving the quality of life for all citizens. You know, noble causes both. You can bring any kind of agricultural traffic past my house, and I am happy to see it. I don't care if it's the biggest tractor, I don't care if it's a cattle truck, horse trailer, whatever. But when industrial commercial traffic, which has originated in another area out of the corporate limit, is using Main Street as a through traffic facility, then I have a problem. The Virginia Highway Guidelines for Traffic Restrictions describe Orange Main Street as a rural major collector, which qualifies for traffic restrictions. The reasonable alternate route for the quarry trucks is to use 649 to 15. The tractor trailers already have the 15 bypass to 20 and the reverse. The problem is, just tonight, a huge, I don't even know what it carried, maybe it carried lumber, tried to make the turn from East Main onto 15 going towards the McDonald's, and he could not do it. And I don't know if he went through one whole segment of the light in order to try to make the turn. He shouldn't have been there to begin with. I don't even know why he was there unless he thought he could have a shortcut because he came up Bird, which meant he then had to make the turn there at Mayfrey and East Main. So again, I think some of that comes back to the GPS issue, where they're getting information that makes them think they're gonna save 2.5 minutes. You know, the Gordonsville study, which led to the banning of trucks on their main street, describes a through truck as a vehicle originating outside the corporate limit, which puts, to me, any truck coming from Culpeper using 615 going all the way through Orange because they're headed to Ruckersville, or any quarry truck who could be using 649 to get to 15, qualifies through trucks. I mean, I don't, unless my reading is way off. That's what it says, and a corporate limit truck restriction is anything over 26,000 pounds that originates outside the corporate limit. So already it seems to me that they're, you know, they've come from Culpeper into Rapidan, into Orange, going to wherever, that qualifies as a through truck. And I, you know, we need to talk about it, we need to have a discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, is that my time? Oh, that's too bad, I've got more really good stuff here.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Nancy Wiley, 16104 Montebello Road.
Hi, thanks for your time this evening. I don't live on the Rapidan Road, but I'm on it a lot. I have friends on it, my children have friends on it. I go to church on the Rapidan Road, so I'm on it during the week and on the weekends. And everybody speeds on that road. The trucks are speeding, but the cars are speeding, everybody's speeding. And so I think the road is accurately marked, but I don't think the people are following the speed limit. I think some of the signs are a little hard to see. So I don't know if there can be greater enforcement. I know law enforcement needs to be everywhere and they just can't be hanging out on the Rapidan Road, but I don't know if we can do more for enforcement or maybe reduce the speed limit for cars. So maybe it's, as you said, that trucks think that, you know, 55 is for cars and 45 for trucks, and you know, everyone seems to go in 55 or 60. And so I don't know if you can appeal to VDOT to put the little bumpy things in the middle of the road so people aren't changing over. I don't know what can be done, but I do know that right now it's everyone's going too fast. So anything that you can do to appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ellen Patero, 10155 Rapidan Road.
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for your time tonight. I'm speaking to you as a resident of Rapidan Road, but also as a business owner on the Rapidan Road. As you know, agritourism is becoming a booming business in our county, and people are coming here because it's so beautiful here. And I don't blame them. That's why I love to live here. So what I would love for you all to do, you know the problem at hand here, dangerous. It's very dangerous on the Rapidan Road. I want it to be safer for the residents as well as the clients, my clients and other clients who are coming to the county to enjoy a peaceful place if we live in a byway. On 615, it should act like a byway. I also agree with those who said that the speed limit should be reduced for all traffic at 45. Nancy's right, everyone speeds on that road, myself included. I'll just say that right out there. And so it needs to be reduced for myself, but also for other people. And I have seen trucks passing tractors and all this things. I've seen it myself. And the solutions are before you. I know that you all will take this seriously, and I implore you to do it as quickly as possible so we can come to some solution quickly. Thanks.
Thank you.
And last speaker is Viveka Ober, 10155 Rapidan Road.
Good evening. Thank you so much for listening tonight. I've lived on the Rapidan Road for 43 years, and I've definitely seen an increase of the trucks. But I want to tell you about an incident that happened Sunday night. I was coming up Courthouse Hill, in the left lane turning down Main Street. And there was a 18-wheeler trying to turn the corner coming from, I don't know if it was Rapidan or Selma Road, but he was trying to turn the corner. And I was looking at the light thinking, well, surely he's gonna wait and let me just slip around him. But no, he started out and he came right against me. It was dark. I was trying to figure out if anybody was coming up the hill behind me. It was pretty scary. He had me all the way over in the right lane, and he just kept moving and moving and pushing and pushing and pushing. That was scary. As I came to the meeting tonight, I saw the same thing happen. I don't know, I couldn't see who was trying to come around, but the same thing happened. It looked like he was trying to get in on the sidewalk a little bit. But my passenger, I had 2 passengers, and they were scared. So please think about this. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. That's all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll close the public comment period. Thank you all for coming. We will have lots of notes, and we appreciate your input. Okay, we will recess and relocate for our other meeting.